everyone, and welcome back into our journey into the blue sky. I'm Patricia,
My name is Aaron.
and today we're going to be talking about the 2009 Blue Sky Studios animated film Ice Age: Dawn of the Dinosaurs, which is the third of the Ice Age series.
Okay, so in the third movie, it involves the lost world filled with dinosaurs. It turns out that there is an entire prehistoric world that has somehow survived being located underneath the surface of the Earth. Manny and Ellie are expecting their first child in this movie, and Manny becomes compulsively overprotective of her and tries to be readily prepared for when the time comes. Sid is jealous and raises three abandoned eggs, which turn out to be baby T-Rexes, and when their real mother finds out that they were stolen, she takes her three babies and Sid underground. And Sid's friends all go on to his rescue. They are then met with seasoned, highly insane adventurer Weasel named Buck, who is played by Simon Pegg, who becomes their guide in surviving the new world and with an agenda of his own. You'd think when you hear Simon Pegg, for me, Simon Pegg is, it's Shaun of the Dead, it's, it's Hot Fuzz, it's the Cornetto trilogy, and also he's had some various other roles in movies as well, which, would get you very excited for this.
He was Scotty in the Star Trek franchise.
Oh, yeah.
And also, yeah, which also he did a really good job of it. And, Mission Impossible franchise where he plays as the assistant Ethan Hunt. You may know him for Paul and all of the other comedies.
Yeah, Paul's the other one in the Cornetto trilogy, I should have said.
Yeah,
but,
that's what it was.
Here's the thing about this. I love Simon Pegg, and I do love his movies and things like that, but I got to be honest with you, his, portrayal of Buck is not the problem here. It's the fact that basically he's the only entertaining thing in this movie.
That's what I was going to say, is that this is an unfortunate thing about Dawn of the Dinosaurs, is that you're surrounded by all this comedy relief. Sid, Crash and Eddie, Scrat, but the only highlight in this movie is Simon Pegg's character of Buck. But
Yeah.
the reason why is because it's Simon Pegg.
Yeah, at this point, the way I feel about Ice Age at the minute, you can definitely tell it's running out of steam at this point. They've had, the Three Men and the Baby movie. We've now had, Manny meets, love interest again, and now in the third movie is forming other family, and it just feels like they're trying to continue this on as much as they can, and but at the end of the day, Diego is still Diego, Sid is still Sid. Now for whatever reason, Scrat needs a love interest, and that's basically how it's basically the skits that you get with Scrat aren't really they're not just random kind of sketches or anything like that anymore. They're now part of another story that's currently going on, and it's an arc that doesn't even relate to what's going on in the actual Dawn of the Dinosaurs movie. So
Exactly.
and so I got to be honest, this is at the point where I start to feel kind of nervous. But by the way, we haven't seen the other Ice Age movie that Disney basically had its hands in yet, and so now that they're at this point, it kind of makes me kind of worry about where Ice Age is currently going at the moment. At this
We still
point.
haven't watched Continental Drift, and we still haven't watched Collision Course yet.
Yeah. So, going on the story, so it's, once again, it's Sid just basically, getting in over his head and then getting himself into trouble, and then, at this point, it makes you wonder why on earth, they stick around with him and they're still letting get eaten by something, but...
Remember when we
yeah.
complained about in the second movie that Sid didn't have exactly a backstory other than, I feel unappreciated, and I need to go find my purpose, and then he finds a group of sloths, and then that plot just went away after 5 minutes.
That should have been the movie, so Sid falling into a cult and then his friends have to go off and save him and not realize he's not
I
realize.
guess they try to do something here because the whole point of this movie is to rescue Sid by a female Tyrannosaurus Rex after he steals her eggs because he was jealous that Manny and Ellie were going to have a baby.
Yeah, it's just the motivations of Sid is just you can't really relate to all that much. He gets himself into trouble, and then if anything, Sid ends up being kind of like a pursuit of villain in this movie in a way, because he's it's his stupidity that ended up getting Manny and Ellie into the point where they're having to give birth basically in a dangerous place. It's kind of hard to root for Sid in this case. In fact, I don't even understand why Manny had Ellie go with her. I'm sorry. Here's the thing about this as well. There's a lot of this movie that's quite forgetful, to be honest with you. Like, it just feels like a throwaway adventure a little bit, really. Like,
Yeah, exactly.
nothing.
It feels more like a side story than a sequel.
The only thing that's gained is like it just feels like it's just a story about how Peaches became about, basically. Like, it's like
Yeah, there's two things that came from this. Peaches being born and introducing Buck, who will appear in the next two sequels.
yeah,
And he'll
exactly.
have his own movie.
Yeah, and no doubt, like, Simon Pegg will need if he needs any more money, no doubt they'll give him his own series or something like that, no doubt. But here's the thing about this, like, this feels more like, those episodes of shows, like, say, for example, like in The Simpsons or like in, The Rugrats or like that. It feels more like the story is kind of like, well, here's the episode about how this particular character was born, and we get more backstory for that character. It feels more.
You're trying to say that this is the Rugrats movie of the Ice Age franchise, in which basically the whole point of that movie was to introduce Baby Dill into the series?
Yes and no, but I mean, like, what I'm trying to get at is like, all those Simpsons episode of like, how Bart was born, how Lisa was born, how Maggie was born, how like those types of episodes that you get in like the TV series, like it's like the it seems like every animated show has this particular type of episode, with the exception of the Owl House and probably the exception of Amphibia. Like, it just seems that this is like it doesn't feel like this is a movie that feels, I guess, like as an original story, I guess. Like, I mean, I've seen these types of things done before. Like, oh, hey, here's, here we go to this story about how this character basically came to be into this world, and it's done in the most dramatic circumstances. It kind of feels like, the Journal episode in Hey Arnold. Like how Arnold was born. Like, there was lava, and there was, terrifying things, and, then he silenced all of nature when it all happened, and stuff like that. And
Yes.
it feels like this is one of those movies where it kind of like tells the story of like, it feels like it should have been told in the past tense, really, when you really think about it. It's like, oh, hey, here's Peaches, and this is how she came to be, and, you do like the whole like mist and like do, and then like you get on with the story.
The Wayne's World.
Yeah, but again, like a lot of this is kind of forgetful in a way. The one thing I guess you could say was quite interesting was probably like the mother T-Rex. Like, you'd think that, she probably would have killed Sid or something like that, but doesn't. Like, some reason wants to, like, keep her around and stuff like that. I have no idea what that's about. I don't know if it's because, here's the thing, like, these eggs are found, like, in the middle of nowhere from the looks of it, and they're just, like, cold. I don't know if, like, the mother lost them, or if she basically kind of, like,
Doesn't
walked
really
away
make that
from
much
them.
sense, considering that where the mother lives, she lives in an underground tropical lost world where we find out where have the dinosaurs been this entire time, because everybody knows that going into the whole Batman and Robin joke, what killed the dinosaurs? The Ice Age! Yeah. So we just assume that, okay, this is the Ice Age, so there are very, very few dinosaurs or no dinosaurs left. So we can assume that it takes place around the time of the Ice Age, but before the Jurassic period, in which, big meteor go boom and then all creatures more or less die. Anyway, so we thought, okay, we're going to go into that direction. But no, it decides to take a different direction, in which we have them in a tropical lost world, and this is where the dinosaurs have been all this time.
And by the way, like, this is after, like, humans were roaming the Earth, which makes, obviously I know people are going to say, it's just a cartoon, but it's like, humans and dinosaurs never coexisted on Earth. At all.
No, they never did.
They never did. So, like, this is bullshit. But, it's bullshit. I mean, in regards to, also, there's something else that kind of bothers me as well. Why is it that Manny, Diego, Sid, Ellie, all these other animals can talk, but the dinosaurs can't? Like, what sense does that make? In this world.
I have no idea. I don't know how this universe works. I mean, I can understand humans not talking yet, but yeah, they should be able to talk at this point in time, because was it that they didn't have the cognitive thought or process for them to understand how to speak?
I don't know. Maybe
they were just underground for so long that they just gotten back to their savage instincts. I have no idea.
I don't know. Maybe they're worried that, one of the voices they're about to put to is like, I'm the baby, gotta love me. I don't know. But reference to dinosaur, by the way.
Oh my
Yeah. Do,
goodness.
do, 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 do.
I'm the baby, gotta love me, big, I'm tall, and awfully cuddly. Okay, I'm done.
Yeah, I'm done. So, yeah, I don't know. Maybe just, yeah, like, I don't understand how this world works, really. Like, this is the thing about it as well. Like, you spend more time kind of, like, pulling apart bits and pieces of Ice Age, which you don't really, shouldn't be really be doing at this point. Especially in the third movie, you know, like, if you're getting to that point where people are, like, questioning stuff in your film, like, I mean, this is the place to stop. I mean, like,
Yeah, in fact, it's
yeah.
actually funny because, our good buddy Jamboriki had mentioned on Twitter shortly before he posted up his tier list of the best Blue Sky Studios villains, where he was saying about that they should have ended the Ice Age films right in the third one because at least Manny had a major story arc. It started off with Manny by himself. Then it started off with him having a girlfriend or wife. And then they have a baby. It should have ended right there.
Yeah, I mean, like, you could definitely tell at this point that Ice Age was, just was starting to melt. And so, I mean, this should have been the end of. I mean, again, we've not seen the other two sequels yet, but in my opinion, this should be the end of Manny's story. Like, they shouldn't
Yeah.
really go any further than that, unfortunately. So, also, like, I'm just looking at some of the other notes I got as well. There's this really awful joke that they did with Sid where, like, he tries to milk, like, a muskrat, but then he realizes that it's not female.
Oh
And,
God.
yeah, do you remember that? That was terrible. And,
That
like,
was terrible. I mean, it makes sense for something like Rocco's Modern Life, in which you had that scene where the farmer comes in and he's milking all the cows, and then he accidentally puts the milk machine on heifer, and then it squirts out white stuff. I'm not gonna go further than that. You figure it out.
what?
So
I saw that clip on Twitter, actually, with that's that Twitter account, isn't it? That's World's Wildest, cartoon.
yeah,
Thing, yeah.
like wildest cartoon
Yeah,
moments.
that never made it into. You wouldn't be too surprised. That
Never
never
made
made
it
it.
in that never made it to air.
Yeah, and it didn't make it. Well, it didn't make it in the UK version either. So, like,
Yeah.
is it on DVD somewhere? Like,
It probably is. I wouldn't be surprised if they. I mean, I would be surprised if they didn't have it on the DVD feature because, when Ren and Stimpy was released on DVD, they included all of the deleted stuff. So maybe they did the same thing with Rocco.
By the way, for those who are going to say, like, oh, look at the Ren and Stimpy one as well. Like, first of all, that's not the Nickelodeon thing. That's the
Adult Party
cartoon. Yeah, exactly. So, like, I'm really surprised you didn't put two and two together at that point. But anyway, I digress. So, again, like, also on top of that as well, apparently, some of the, I didn't actually notice this actually until someone pointed this out to me, and that is that apparently some of the animals are definitely not to scale. Which, by the way, again, like if you say like, well, it's an animation kind of thing, but many of the dinosaurs are portrayed as if Manny were the size of a human and therefore much bigger than they actually would be in real life. This is exaggerated with the Brontosaurus, which are close to Godzilla size as a result. So basically, well, again, like we've never seen a dinosaur in real life really, so we don't know how real that can be. But I mean, the fact that the dinosaurs were so huge. Yeah, that's another thing as well. Like, Manny's supposed to be, like, big and strong in, like, the Ice Age movies. Like, and, like, it's like that was his thing in, at least in both the Ice Age movies that we saw. And in this, he's made to look really weak in all of this.
I mean, I can understand that Manny's head is not in the right place because he's so concerned about protecting Ellie because she is pregnant with Peaches.
Yeah.
So, I mean, there's
no,
even this whole
I'm not complaining that he has a soft spot. No, totally. That's really revolves around his. That's circles his character. But the thing is that I mean, compared to like how physically he is, compared to all the dinosaurs, like I'm pretty sure mammoths were pretty big creatures.
I mean, of course they were. They were able to defend themselves. I mean, a lot of them were able to offset a lot of dinosaurs back in their day. They had the big tusks. They had really thick fur so that they couldn't be attacked very easily. So, yes, they were not weaklings in the animal kingdom back in those days.
Mm-hmm. So, I mean, the only positives that really we can take away from this movie is Buck. I mean, like, he's, I'm pretty sure they put Buck in pretty much to say, okay, well, if we ever need someone to kind of like fall back on, if the other characters start getting a bit boring, at least we have Buck to fall back on. at least, and because
Yeah, I mean
I
that
think they're
is true.
catching
He was pretty
yeah.
funny.
Well, it's not the fact he was kind of like put in not as a character to be put in his own right. It feels more like they have got so stuck with the other characters. I mean, Sid's doing exactly the same thing he was doing in the first movie, and Diego seems to be kind of
Yeah.
doing the same thing he's been doing in the last two movies. And
Yeah, exactly. I
yeah,
mean, like, if you remember, the first movie, Diego was the bad guy. In the second movie, Diego was afraid of water. In this movie, Diego is afraid of getting old.
yeah, it's just I mean, I like how I mean, there's one thing I will say maybe positive about that. Diego in this is that at least they portrayed him like every time they put a problem in front of Diego, he finds a way of like getting around. That's I like to see. Characters kind of like be. These challenges, and then it'd be interesting to see maybe in the future movies if Diego finally meets a challenge he just can't face, himself, maybe, and like,
Hmm.
or he can't, this is something he can't get around. Like his survival instincts aren't going to, get around this time. I don't know, but I mean, here's the thing about Manny's still the same. Ellie's probably still the same as well. I mean, besides, obviously she's a mom now or whatever. But I mean, also, her family, those possums, like, it's just
Oh, Crush and Eddie.
no, I just, it's, I don't. The fact that I know they're going to be in as main characters in the next, in the last, Ice Age related thing that we're going to review, it just makes me feel really just not prepared for it. Maybe Buck's going to get me through the next one, but again, like, I just don't like them. I feel like they're unnecessary additions to all of this, really. And I would rather we focus on, yes, Manny, yes, Sid, yes, Diego, yes, maybe, yeah, Ellie, I guess, and you have the scrap things in between, and then you have Sid, and then but all the other additions from 2 to 3, just with the exception of Buck, just feel like they shouldn't be there. I don't enjoy these other. Yeah, you guys remind you. Crash and Eddie, do you say their name was? It's like
Yeah, that's what their names are.
yeah, like that's how uninvested I am in them. I can't even remember their names. You know, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I guess the one thing that people might give credit to is at least they were able to change the Scrat story as opposed to him chasing around the acorn. It's like, oh, here's something different. He has a girlfriend, but it has nothing to do with the storyline with Manny, Diego, or Sid, and he does not make like a major impact on anything that they're around. I mean, this could have been like a whole separate thing in itself.
Yeah, like this should have been in the second movie, in my opinion. Like it's like this. It would have fit the theme of Manny and Ellie getting together in the second movie, and then obviously you'd have the same thing going on with Scrat. Like that would have like been the theme of the movie, pretty much. Like
Yes.
that would have been good. But I mean, this just again like this felt out of place for me, really. Like it would have been more interesting if we saw Scrat kind of like interacting with the Jurassic World rather than like having him chase this love interest, or this whole thing with like and also the nut gets involved from time to time, and even the nut gets jealous, which I think is just what the hell. Like it's a nut. Like it's as far as we're concerned, it has no characteristics or have any like bearing like on the other, besides being the thing that Scrat chases after. It has no other bearing, and it has no character in this movie besides just being that.
Yeah,
It's just
pretty
it's
much.
yeah. So I was disinterested in that. I thought that it was played for laughs, really, which I shouldn't be bringing too much seriousness to it. But like again, like I'm so disinterested in this movie. I'm trying to hang something. Buck, when he's not on screen, like he's there's nothing else really to kind of like grasp my interest. Really, like
Yeah, I mean,
Sid's in
they
trouble
try to make
again.
they try to make the world interesting. It's like, hey, we're not surrounded by ice anymore, but it's like, but it still looks pretty generic. It looks like something out of like the Lost World, or it looks like something from the lines of Journey to the Center of the Earth or Jurassic Park or something. It's not really that unique.
By the way, that whole thing is supposed to be underground. To
Yes.
my understanding, well, there's a continuity error in the poster because in the poster it shows the bright blue sky. So yeah, so even the poster's gone. Even you can't advertise this right.
Yeah.
Also, guess what song appears in this movie? Which,
Oh boy.
yeah, Walk the Dinosaur. That's back.
Of course they did. We didn't have it enough with Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles 3, so now we need to freaking have it with this movie.
Also, with Super Mario Brothers, remember, as well.
Oh yeah, that's right. The Super Mario Brothers too,
Yeah,
as
exactly.
well.
So, yeah,
Uh,
it's, you
you
know.
know what? This actually is so disappointing. It's like Blue Sky, I mean, I know that they've had the reputation of like, hey, we're doing all of this really cool animation and we're going to try to see if we can break apart from Disney and Pixar and DreamWorks to see what kind of stuff we're doing. I just got to say that 2009, now I'll give them credit for this. They were the highest grossing animated film that year. And also the number three highest grossing animated film of 2009 behind Harry Potter and the Half-Blood Prince and Avatar, which of course is now one of the highest grossing movies of all time.
Well, thanks to China.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Anyway, so I want to put that in this perspective. Do you know what other animated movies came out in 2009?
Oh, now you're asking me. What?
Yes, I am asking you.
Uh,
I'll tell you what they are. And oh boy, you're going to be thinking about this in a context. Coraline, the first feature from Laika that was able to break new ground into showcasing stop motion that wasn't from Aardman or Tim Burton. Cloudy with a Chance of Meatballs, Sony Pictures Animations, basically its foray into animation that wasn't anything involving with their other franchise movies, which I have to say that if we ever do a podcast discussing about Sony Pictures Animation, which I know we eventually will have to do, they're one of the cases in which they started off really rough with open season and then they just continue to get better and better. But again, we'll see if we can cover that another time. Let's talk about some other movies that were out around that time, shall we? Fantastic Mr. Fox. As we all know, this was Wes Anderson's first foray into animation, and what, according to the Roald Dahl retrospective, was the number one best animated adaptation based off of a Roald Dahl book. Let's see what else we have. Let's see. I guess in addition to like all the directed DVD movies, but we're not going to count those.
By the way, Planet 51 was released that year.
Yeah, I am familiar with Planet 51. I think it was okay. It was basically an astronaut who wanders into a planet known as Planet 51, and they believe that it's the 1950s.
Yeah, it's
So Mary and Max
yeah.
is a great animated film. It's an animated stop motion film from Australia. It's based off of a true story about a little girl and a 40-year-old man who are pen pals with each other. DreamWorks had Monsters vs. Aliens that year, which we said was a really good movie, and definitely a major surprise considering that movie actually had mixed results when it first came out. Disney released The Princess and the Frog, which was their first major 2D animation in 5 years, and it was the one that kickstarted the revival era, the one that is still going on to this very day. Cartoon Saloon came into the picture with The Secret of Kells, and it would continue on with a tradition of releasing Irish animated films with a trilogy with Song of Sea and Wolfwalkers. And then there's Summer Wars, which is an amazing animated film from Mamoru Hosoda from Madhouse. Excellent movie. Definitely go check it out. And then Pixar released Up. And yeah, I know that Aaron and I have had our issues with Up, but still, it's a pretty good movie for multiple reasons, despite its flaws. So yeah, you can see that despite Ice Age Dawn of the Dinosaurs being the highest grossing animated film of 2009, do people even talk about this movie anymore?
Yeah, here's the thing about this. Like, there were so many other good movies that were out that year, and somehow...
And it made a lot less money.
Yeah, exactly. Like, I'm looking at the full list of animated movies that came in. Astro Boy came out that year.
No.
Yeah.
That is not the Astro Boy based off of the Cartoon Network movie series. You wish it would, but no. It is actually the movie that came out that tried to be like Astro Boy, but basically Americanized it, and yeah, it's not very good.
Yeah, and then there were, Jim Carrey's A Christmas Carol came out that year as well.
Oh yes, that's the motion capture Christmas Carol adaptation, the one that's really, really dark.
Yeah, and then Monsters vs. Aliens also came out that same year as well, which
Yes, it was.
I would prefer to to watch that movie than Dawn of the Dinosaurs. To
Yeah,
be honest with
exactly. I would prefer to watch it, even though it made a lot less money than Dawn of the Dinosaurs. It only made $381 million compared to Ice Age making $886 million. Just because a movie makes a lot more money in the box office doesn't make it a critically acclaimed classic.
Yeah, Cloudy the Chance of Meatballs also came out that same year as well.
Yep.
Coraline, as you already mentioned, one of the Wonder Woman animated movies that went direct to video.
Yeah,
that came out
that
year.
was a direct-to-video animated movie, and that was based off of, I think, Justice League Unlimited.
And Fantastic Mr. Fox, as we already mentioned. The Secret of Kells also came out that same year.
Yep.
Also, Summer Wars also came out that same year as well, anime. And Evangelion 2.0, You Cannot Advance, also came out that same year. Yeah,
exactly. I mean, of course, an Evangelion movie is going to be pretty big.
Yeah, and so, I mean, there was plenty of options out there, but, here's the thing about this, though. I mean, a lot of people loved Ice Age, and I can probably imagine that a lot of people were very hyped for Ice Age 2 when that came out, too. And then when the third movie came out, I think you can probably imagine some people were really looking forward to it, but, yeah. I guess because Ice Age, I mean, it had brand recognition, so I guess that's how it parted everyone with the cash. But yeah, I mean, I'm really surprised it didn't. Remember when After Earth came out and people saw it for a weekend, and then they told everybody online what was going on, and then after that, no one else kind of watched it.
Yeah.
You would have thought back, mind you, it was 2009, I guess, and I guess social media hadn't fully taken grip in society, but I don't know.
I mean, we were. I mean, it was still on the age of MySpace and the early years of Facebook and Twitter.
Yeah, so I mean, it'd be interesting to see, if Dawn of the Dinosaurs, if it was still if it was going through, a more prevalent time in social media, would it have probably been, as rewarded, I think, as probably as it was probably back in 2009. I'm not too sure about that, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
So,
I mean, I guess it also was showcased to saying, hey, Ice Age 1 was pretty good. Ice Age 2 was a bit of a disappointment, but, hey, we have Horton Hears a Who. That did pretty well. Let's see if we can give this other Ice Age movie another chance. Well, fool me once, shame on you. Fool me twice, shame on me. So, yeah.
Yeah. So, I think in conclusion, I think we can probably say that, we weren't all that. It's funny, we haven't really.
There's a thing that's. Do you know the thing that was missing in this movie compared to the other two?
What's that?
A slow moment.
Yeah.
Have you noticed any slow moments at all from this movie?
Besides Buck kind of telling the story of where he came from, I mean not.
Yeah, but that was
really.
more for comedy though. That was not. I mean, sure, he made it oh, I lost my eye when fighting against this huge Tyrannosaurus Rex, but he did it for laughs. He wasn't sad about it.
Yeah, but also there wasn't really much to all that, and also the only time we actually got any kind of calm was when Buck was walking with him and explaining how this place works. But even then, you can't really count that as a slow moment, really.
It's not a slow moment either because it's just explaining what the world is.
Yeah, I think it was afraid to say, oh well, if we slow this movie down, we might bore the kids, so therefore we shouldn't, and we just keep things going time and time again, and it really suffers with pacing, really. In fact, that actually might be one of the reasons why
they definitely should have taken a page from Coraline, because admittedly the movie does start off pretty slow, but it builds momentum in which when Coraline finally finds the secret room the secret door that leads to the other side.
I don't think it should start slow. I mean it should start with the thing it does. It should start with with the Scrat thing. So you're basically watching an Ice Age movie. So that's that's the one thing that people come to see when they do that. So they should start off like that. And so I mean they should start nice and nice and flashy. I'm not saying that they shouldn't do that, but at the same time
I'm just referring to the fact that I mean, you have moments in which it's taking its time to breathe and enjoy the atmosphere.
Yeah, but here's the thing: you do that once. Here's the thing, you start upwards, and then if you notice, in the Ice Age movie, you start up, and then we come down, and then we go back up again, and then we go down. We breathe. That's basically how the first Ice Age movie worked out, and so and that you and I really enjoyed Ice Age, didn't we? So
yes, we did.
So that's the problem that this movie has. It doesn't know how to breathe, up and down all that well. doesn't know how to compress and then decompress that well.
Yeah,
It just feels like,
it's just like taking one large breath and just running around.
well, it's not even doing that. It's like he's taking like tons of breaths and like not really slowing down, and his heart rate's going crazy. And if you're not careful enough, it's going to collapse. And it does collapse at times. Like it's. But yeah, I mean, as you probably tell, guys, we didn't really get much enjoyment out of this. Really, it's unfortunate that the only conclusion that we can come back from it is that we really enjoyed Buck, but at the same time, like maybe at the point where Buck needs his own movie and everyone else needs kind of like go away for a while. So, which
Yeah.
I know we're not going to get. So,
Nope. In fact, from what I understand, it's only going to get worse.
Yeah.
Help.
Okay. So, all right, everybody. Well, I think that's our journey through choppy clouds, I think, in blue sky. So, okay.
Yes. So next time we're going to be going into what was considered to be the second biggest hit for Blue Sky. So much so that it's the only one out of the group besides Ice Age that got a sequel. So next time we're going to be talking about Rio.
Okay. Until then, bye, everyone.
See ya.
All right.